Lock the doors, dim the lights, and lean in close, because what we're about to discuss tonight wasn't meant for the public eye. Welcome back to Wrestling Apocalypse, the only place brave enough to peel back the curtain on the secrets the WWE tries to keep buried in the basement of the gorilla position. You've seen the headlines, you've seen the blurry cell phone footage circulating on the dark corners of the internet, and you've seen the suspicious smiles on Monday Night Raw. But tonight, we have the full story. We are talking about the Judgment Day duo that has set the world on fire, Dominik Mysterio and the Women's World Champion, Liv Morgan. They were caught. Not at a restaurant, not at a red carpet, but backstage in a dimly lit training terminal, engaging in a wrestling practice so unbelievable, so unorthodox, and so physically intense that it has veteran road agents scratching their heads in the locker room whispering in hushed tones. This isn't just a training session, it's a glimpse into the bizarre psychological warfare they're preparing to unleash on the entire roster. The atmosphere at the arena earlier this week was already thick with tension. Ever since Liv Morgan successfully executed her revenge tour and essentially dismantled the Mysterio family dynamic, the air around Dominik has changed. He isn't just the dirty DOM we love to hate anymore, he's become something more focused, more dangerous, and arguably, more unhinged. Our sources backstage tell us that after the cameras stop rolling, while the rest of the crew is packing up crates and the main eventers are heading to their tour buses, Dominik and Liv stay behind. They don't go to the gym. They go to the ring, but not for a standard practice. Picture this: a lone cameraman, wandering the bowels of the arena near the loading docks, hears a rhythmic, metallic thud. Thwack. Slide. Thud. He follows the sound to a secondary rehearsal ring, hidden behind stacks of production equipment. There, in the half-light, he sees them. Liv Morgan isn't just coaching Dominik, she's transforming him. But it's the method that's unbelievable. They weren't practicing lock UPS or wrist locks. They were engaged in a high-speed, blindfolded coordination drill that looked more like a choreographed fight from a cinematic thriller than a wrestling warm-up. Liv was standing on the apron, shouting commands in a language that sounded like a private code, while Dominik, his eyes completely covered by a black bandana, was reacting to her voice with terrifying precision. He was hitting dropkicks into thin air, landing exactly where a hypothetical opponent's chin would be. He was kipping up and transitioning into 619 rotations without ever seeing the ropes. The level of trust, the sheer, eerie synchronization between these two is something we haven't seen in this business since the days of the great manager-client duos of the 80s, but with a modern, toxic twist. The drama of this unbelievable practice lies in the stakes. Why would a champion like Liv Morgan spend her precious recovery time blindfolding the most hated man in wrestling? Because they aren't just preparing for a match, they are preparing to take over the industry through a shared psychic connection. Fans on social media have been losing their minds over this. One fan on X wrote, "I saw them in the hallway and they didn't even speak, they just nodded at the same time. It's like they're sharing a brain." Another fan perspective suggests that Liv is using her championship experience to rewire Dominik's brain, stripping away the influence of his father, Rey Mysterio, and replacing it with her own chaotic philosophy. As the practice intensified, the observer noted something even more shocking. Liv began hitting Dominik with stiff, unprotected strikes not to hurt him, but to condition him. She was slapping him, kicking his ribs, and then immediately demanding he execute a complicated aerial maneuver. And Dominik? He was laughing. A low, frantic chuckle that echoed through the empty arena. This is the unbelievable part of the story. It wasn't a workout, it was a ritual. It was a bonding exercise designed to make them indestructible. The humor comes in when you imagine the reaction of a guy like R-Truth or even Adam Pearce stumbling upon this scene. Imagine the general manager walking in to discuss a contract, only to see his top stars engaging in what looks like a supernatural combat ritual. Pearce probably turned right around and walked back to his office to file a very confused report. But the humor fades quickly when you realize the consequences. If Dominik Mysterio can wrestle a full match with his eyes closed, relying entirely on the voice of Liv Morgan, how can anyone beat him? You can't catch him off guard if he isn't using his eyes to see you. You can't outsmart him if his strategy is being fed to him by the most manipulative woman in the division. The pacing of their rise to power has been calculated. We saw the seeds planted months ago, the lingering glances, the accidental assists. But this backstage revelation changes the narrative. This isn't a fling or a showmance. This is a partnership built on the wreckage of the Judgment Day and the bones of the Mysterio legacy. The emotional beat of this story is the total isolation of Dominik. He has completely severed ties with his past, and in this hidden training session, he was literally blinding himself to the world to see only what Liv wants him to see. It's cinematic, it's dark, and it's pure wrestling gold. Backstage insights suggest that the locker room is genuinely unsettled. We heard from a veteran road agent who said, "I've seen some weird stuff in 30 years. I've seen guys pray to masks and girls talking to dolls. But the way Liv and Dom were training, it felt like they were preparing for a war that only they knew was coming. It wasn't about the fans. It was about them. This creates a massive power vacuum. If the Judgment Day can't control them, and the Office can't stop them, who is left?" The cinematic story of Liv and Dominik is the heart of Monday Night Raw right now. They are the villains we can't stop watching. We hate them for what they've done to the family, but we are mesmerized by their chemistry. When they finally debuted the results of this practice in a dark match later that week, the results were devastating. Dominik moved with a fluidity we've never seen. He was dodging strikes before they were thrown, moving his head an inch to the left just as a boot whistle passed. It was like he was reading the air. And in the corner, Liv Morgan stood like a puppeteer, her lips moving in a constant stream of instructions that only he could hear. This is the wrestling apocalypse in its purest form, the breakdown of traditional wrestling and the birth of something far more sinister. The stakes have never been higher for the rest of the roster. If you're a babyface looking for a fair fight, you're out of luck. You aren't fighting a man, you're fighting a system. You're fighting a champion and her masterpiece. The consequences are clear, the titles are staying where they are, and the judgment is only going to get harsher. As we conclude this deep dive into the most unbelievable practice session in WWE history, we have to ask the big question: is there any force in the world, be it a returning Rhea Ripley, a vengeful Rey Mysterio, or the authority of the WWE itself, that can break the bond between these two? Or are we witnessing the beginning of a decade-long reign of terror that will redefine what it means to be a power couple in professional wrestling? The story of Dominik and Liv is far from over, but after what was caught backstage, we now know the secret to their success. It's not just talent. It's a terrifying, blind devotion that goes beyond the ring and into the very souls of these performers. They are the architects of their own universe, and we are just living in it. What do you think of this bizarre training method? Do you think the blindfolded drills are the secret to Dominik's newfound dominance, or is Liv Morgan playing a much deeper game than we realize? And honestly, how long can this level of intensity last before someone gets seriously hurt? We want to hear your wildest theories in the comments below. This is the kind of story that keeps us awake at night, analyzing every frame of footage. If you want to stay ahead of the curve and get the latest backstage secrets before the mainstream media catches up, you know what to do. Smash that like button to show your support for the apocalypse. Subscribe to Wrestling Apocalypse and hit that notification bell so you never miss a breaking report. We are tracking Dominik and Liv 24/7, and trust me, you don't want to see what they have planned for next week. Would you like me to analyze the specific code Liv was using to command Dominik during the session? Let us know. Until next time, keep your eyes open because Dominik certainly doesn't have to. Stay wild, stay loud, and we'll see you at the next reveal.